end of last year, I found out that I had been nominated for Best Up and Coming Content Creator. And I had to go to Sydney for it in like February this year. And
But
in
by
January,
what? What was this thing? Who decided you were best? By who?
Somebody from Instagram that worked at Instagram was like, you should do this. Like, I've nominated you, do the application. So I just filled it in. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, there's going to be so many people that have applied. And like back then, I felt like my self-concept was still like a little bit but then in January, so this was, I think, November last year. And then in January this year, I literally, like, here's my little award. But I got a photo of this award just like from the internet, and I put it in like a little like visual, I guess, what are they called, mood board or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and then I literally changed my name, put my name on it, and I was like, I'm a fucking award-winning content creator. Hey. How are you?
Should I be calling you Kat or Katie?
Call me Kat, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, Kat, darling. So, darling, listen, I'm going to listen very intently to this story because this is a story that's really fascinating. If you guys are wanting to be an influencer or wanting to get fame and fortune, listen to this story, because I swear to God, I'm going to be listening very intently to this, because there's things you've done that I haven't done yet, like getting verified on Instagram. I'm like, what? How's she done that? And mate, these stories are amazing, and the photos and everything. So tell us all about it, darling. So hang on, before we do that, backtrack. So how long have you been watching me, and why did you start watching me?
Well, I knew about you, I think, from like maybe 2 years ago. My sister watched you all the time. She manifested back her SP using your content. Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, if she can do that, then what can I do?
Right.
But like I kind of really got into it probably end of last year, like December.
Right.
And really just like drilled down and watched heaps of your stuff and did like a couple of courses. So yeah.
And so what was your aim in watching me? What were you originally watching me for?
Look, I feel like most people, it started with SP stuff. Then I used it for my content.
Right. So what is your content? What do you make?
So I do comedy and like mini social media documentaries. Yeah.
Like
on
kind of like mockumentaries.
Well, I'm doing, like, for example, I'm doing a series on the Greek diaspora. So I've been interviewing like grandparents about their migration stories and sharing that kind of like community type stuff. Yeah. And then comedy on the side.
The comedy's separate.
Yeah, it's two different things. Yeah.
So is that two separate accounts you've got, or are you doing it all in the one account?
I do it all on the one account, yeah.
And what's your account called? What's your at?
It's at Hey Cat Zam, like Hey Cat ZAM.
So HEYKATZAM.
Yeah. On Instagram.
Yeah. And that's your reduced Greek name.
That is. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I've had many Greek SPs, and they all have very long Greek surnames. And I have a couple of friends who are like called Bass or something, like they've shortened their Greek surname.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those of you who aren't in Australia probably won't understand that there are a lot of Greek families in Australia, right? And there's a certain Australianness with being, there's a whole other element of being Greek and Australian that's different than just being Greek as well.
Yeah, it's a whole other. That's a whole other category.
It's a whole other category.
I understand. It's so funny.
So if you guys ever, like, Kat will know about this, but there's these guys called Sushi Mango, and then these like guys who do like comedy about being Greek or Italian or something in Australia, and people love that shit because it's a totally different experience when you live here, but you're I say wog because I'm a wog, darling.
I know.
But yeah. Okay, so tell us, so when you started your content, how did it start to go at first? What were you worried about?
Sorry?
What were you, like, do you have worries about it, like, oh, I'm new, or like, how are people going to see this, or how did you feel about when you started your content creation journey?
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I felt really shy. I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, people are going to see me. Like, this is so embarrassing.
Right.
And then when people from my hometown would like comment, they'd be like, we went to school together. I was like, block. I was so
You didn't want
embarrassed. I
anyone
was
to
like,
see it.
yeah, I was like, oh my God, I'm putting this out there, but then I don't want certain people to see it because like how embarrassing. I was so embarrassed. But then, yeah, over time, it just, like, I stopped giving a fuck. I was like, people fucking love me. Who cares? Like,
Good.
why do I care about this? Yeah.
And so how did you handle like, so did you get started on like Instagram or what did you get started on?
Initially I started just on TikTok because Instagram, I felt like, oh, that's too like personal. I don't know why. There's this whole thing. People are like, oh my God, TikTok, like lots of people can see it, but usually it doesn't land on like your friends or family's pages.
I have never even connected my Facebook with my TikTok.
Yeah.
My friends don't even know I have my TikTok. Most of my people don't even know.
I feel like TikTok's
So
a lot more anonymous compared to
exactly.
Instagram.
So we
that's
must have had that same self-concept issue about, oh, I don't want people seeing it.
yeah, probably.
Great. And then at first, how did it go?
Yeah, it was kind of slow. Like a few videos went viral. And I just kept doing it because I really loved it. I don't know, I just really loved it. I love doing comedy, and I mainly did comedy back then. But I did have a lot of course, self-concept issues around like my sexuality, being gay, and also being embarrassed about being Greek. So
You've got double whammy there. So you've got
yeah.
the embarrassment of being Greek and not everybody knowing you're gay. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then also you could have the Greek and gay, and you could have a religious family. You don't like you being gay. It could be a whole fucking thing.
Yes, and
With your
yes,
self-concept there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely ended up that way. But we'll talk about that later.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, did you bring that element in, the gayness, like of your life, into the comedy or not?
I did, and like at that point, I had like made an Instagram as well, so I was sharing all of my content on there. And when I kind of started talking about being gay, I got like so many horrible messages and comments from like other Greek people, just being like, "What a waste of Greek eggs." And I was like, "What the fuck? Like, why would you say that?"
Fuck off!
I was like,
Really?
"Okay." It was, yeah. I'm like,
Is it
okay.
being
Looking
reflected
back,
that people would feel that way?
yeah,
They
literally
were
looking
Greek.
back, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so but now it's like fine. It's turned out really, really great. I guess I'll let you lead the way with the questions. But yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell me, what do you mean it's turned out really great? I've got Kat's story in front of me. So you were like going in for an award. So how did you go in for a content creation award? How did they even happen?
Yes. So end of last year, I found out that I had been nominated for Best Up and Coming Content Creator. And I had to go to Sydney for it in like February this year. And in January,
what was this thing? Who decided you were best by who?
Somebody from Instagram that worked at Instagram like was like, you should do this, like I've nominated you, do the application. So I just filled it in. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like there's gonna be so many people that have applied. And like back then I felt like my self-concept was still like a little bit but then in January, so this was I think November last year, and then in January this year, I literally like, here's my little award. But I got a photo of this award just like from the internet, and I put it in like a little like visual, I guess, what are they called, mood board or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and then I literally changed my name, put my name on it, and I was like, I'm a fucking award-winning content creator. This like I'm chosen. I just kept affirming it, even though like people were like, oh, you got nominated. I was like, yeah, and they're like, oh, well, you know, up against those people, good luck. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not fucking listening to this 3D bullshit. I just kept affirming whenever that would happen, and I just forgot about it. And then in February, I flew to Sydney, and like leading up to it, I just kept telling myself I was chosen and that I was like a really talented content creator. People love my stuff. It doesn't matter what other people are doing, like I'm chosen. And on the night, I just remember thinking, like, I was kind of like feeling like half like, yeah, I'm gonna win, but then other part of me was kind of like, oh, like, you know, all right, let's just see how we go. But then on the actual night, as they announced my category, I said, okay, let me just put my lipstick on now because I'm going to go up and get my award. And that's what I was thinking the whole night. I was like, okay, like, you know, I look really good. I'm just going to, I was so chill on that night as well. And then I was filming as they were saying the nominees in my category because part of me thought my friend was going to win. So I was filming and then they said my name and I was like, what the fuck? And it was literally just like I imagined it as I visualized it. And then the people looking at the screen just like turned and like filmed me. You could see my face just be like, what the fuck? oh my God. It was so good.
God. So interestingly, see that now, hold that up again. You said you imagined yourself having your name on that. Is your name on that?
I've got my name on it. I just photoshopped my name over someone else's. And I was like, this is my fucking award.
Right. But what's the difference? Those of you motherfuckers who are just doing vision boards, listen to what Kat just said. She was saying and thinking, I have this award. She was saying, I'm an award-winning content creator. She was imagining herself in the visualization of the award being announced. She was thinking, I'm going to go up and get that. She didn't just stick a fucking picture photoshopped on a board and walk past it every day and go, great. For those of you who say to me, oh, my vision board worked. Were you imagining holding the award? Were you saying? Were you imagining it? Were you not just staring at a picture? There's a big fucking difference. Because I've had things on vision boards visualize, like turn up in the 3D, but I was imagining it different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think also like when the doubts kind of popped up or 3D thing, people would say like, oh yeah, you know, you might not win. Because, you know, the content creators that are in that category have like 500,000 plus followers and I've only got 50,000. But I was like, fuck this. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm special. I'm chosen. Just kept going back to that self-concept.
Because you could have spiraled and be like, I don't have as many followers as them. Yeah. Of course, this isn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
You could have done all those
ignored
things.
it. I was like, I don't need to listen.
And then tell me, and then tell me about the getting verified thing.
Yeah, so
I got verified. How'd you do that?
I tried last year. So when I came out last year, I got interviewed. Well, I wrote an article for the ABC in Australia about my experience. And then a national Greek newspaper reached out to me. So I had like a couple of media articles and I tried to get verified that way. Like that's usually apparently how you do it. And I got rejected.
Darling, listen, that I have been asked so many times to go on podcasts and things. Do you think I've even made the time to go on the fucking podcast? Like the thing is you're doing it. And also the more you do it, the more you're going to be asked to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you got the ball rolling. You weren't going, oh, it's not going to happen to me. But then as it started happening, naturally started happening. I'm sure you weren't like putting out like press releases. I'm so great.
Yeah.
Listen to me, interview me. You were just like in the state of like, people are going to want to talk to me. People are going to want to interview me, which I've been in. I just haven't accepted the. I'm like, I'm too busy. I've had this I'm too busy story for so long.
Yeah.
But don't do that. Don't fuck it up like I do. Don't get the interview invitations and then say you're too busy.
Yeah.
She'll do what she's doing. Yeah. Okay, so continue. So you went, and then you went on TV, didn't you?
Yeah. Like I was on the tally. I was on the tally on the ABC again. The ABC just love me. What can I say? I've been on the ABC radio so many times and they're going to get me on the radio again in a few weeks. But just going back to the verified thing, like when I first tried, I already had those 2 articles written about me, but my self-concept was still really shit. That was like mid last year. And I submitted it and then I waited for like 5 days. I didn't hear back. And then I got a notification saying it was rejected. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then I tried again, like a few months later, same shit, rejected. And then I think, this year, I think it was like last month, maybe a few weeks ago, whenever I emailed you, a friend said to me, she's like, wow, you've been in like the media a fair bit again. Why don't you try again? Just randomly.
Again. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, sure. I've already tried, but let's see how we go. But this time I said to myself, you know what? I'm a fucking verified. I visualized the little tick next to my name. I was like, I am verified. I submitted my articles, the same shit that I had been submitting already with like 2 new things. And I was like, I'm fucking verified. And then I forgot about it. 3 hours later, the blue tick was next to my name. I had got the notification. I was like, what the fuck? I was in my pajamas at like 9:30 at night. I'm like, guys, I'm fucking verified. what the fuck? And I didn't have to fucking pay for it. I was like, I'm not paying for that shit. I'm going to earn that shit. So I did it the free way.
What? Look, the thing is, darling, there's a difference between apply, and just I am it.
Yeah.
You could have applied a million times for the blue tick. If you had doubts, if you weren't feeling in the state of good enough to get that verification because you didn't have enough followers or you didn't have enough media attention or whatever the fuck, it wouldn't have happened. And then radically, when you decided, you know what, this is going to happen to me, I am verified, there it is. Amazing.
Yeah. I just decided. I was like, why not?
So tell me what else you were telling me in the email. What else were you talking about? TV. What other things have improved in your life, do you think?
Yeah. So I guess like similar to Rhiannon as well, like just looking back at my self-concept, and I feel like just having people reflecting everything back to me that I've been like affirming and visualizing has just been like crazy. And also just looking back at how I used to think about myself.
Right.
Trash. I was like, why the fuck was I so mean to myself?
Mean to yourself.
And like,
what kind of things have you changed about that? What do you say now to yourself as opposed to what you said before?
Yeah. So before I would just like was not in control of my thoughts at all.
Right.
Spiral city.
Right.
Just like triggered over every little thing in the 3D. But now it's like, no, I'm lovable. I matter. I'm important. I'm really special. I'm chosen. No one dare leave me. All of those affirmations. And whenever I get like, you know, if something happens in the 3D, because we're all human, things happen. I just affirm the opposite. And I don't spiral the way I used to spiral. Like I can catch it. Before it would be like a week of me just being like, fuck everyone. But now I'm like, okay, what in me triggered, like, do you know what I mean? Like, what happened? Why
exactly. So the thing is, guys,
if
you're listening to this on YouTube and you watch this back, watch both interviews. Watch Rhiannon's interview and this interview together and listen to what they're saying about observing their fucking thinking, right?
Yeah.
Non-judgmentally.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking that? Right? You weren't going, oh, you stupid fucking bitch, why are you still doing this? You know what I mean? You could be an observer of your thinking and judge yourself, hate yourself, beat yourself up, tell yourself off, abuse yourself, think you failed, think, oh, I'm still doing this, and feel like lost and broken and like it's never going to work. You guys both, you're both talking about this like, that's a very different attitude of mind than beating yourself up whilst you observe it. So how do you think you got to that point where you weren't, so a person who was already speaking meanly to themselves, how did you stop speaking meanly to yourself about those things that you're observing?
Yeah, just being on top of it, like, and just catching myself in those moments. And like some days it would just the horse would run off. I think you used that analogy. The horse would just fucking go off and I would be left behind like, oh fuck.
Right.
But I feel like over time, and that's the important thing that I realized, not to beat yourself up when you do feel triggered. It's just about bringing it back, getting back on the beam, as you say, Neville says. So yeah, just reminding myself, actually, what's the root cause of this? This isn't about them. Like, okay, am I feeling like abandoned? Let's explore that. And then affirming the literal opposite.
Yeah. Right.
And just consistency, because obviously you have to retrain those thoughts because you've been thinking that for so long.
Exactly. So your career life has really improved. Has any other aspect of your life improved?
I feel like my friendships definitely, and just again, like people reflecting things back to me. Like I feel like I never used to feel attractive and beautiful, and I have been really working on that. And I had a friend say to me just randomly, she was like, you know, you're so much more beautiful now than you were like 2 years ago, even a year ago. She was like, I was looking back at your content, I was like, that is so, thank you. That is so cool.
That's
and just like,
and what do you think about the acceptance of yourself and the gayness and the reaction then to other people? Like, you know, when you said you got those nasty comments, like the Greek comments, what has changed now? What do you think of yourself now in terms of being gay and a wog, being gay and Greek, being gay and a creator? Like what what changed in your mind? And guys, when I say wog, trust me, it's not derogatory in Australia. I know if you're British and you watch this, you think I'm being rude.
She's not.
But
She's not.
Yeah, I'm not. So what do you think changed in you that's now changed the reaction of people or the way people are treating you about that?
I think just like feeling really comfortable with like in my sexuality and just feeling confident. Like I'm not scared to, hide who I am. I'm not tippy-toeing around it. I talk about being gay all the fucking time. All the time. People are like, can you stop talking about it? I'm like, that's none of my business. That's a you problem. Like, I don't get triggered by it anymore. I'm open. I respond to comments and I try and educate people like in an empathetic way. And if they don't get it, then I'm like, that's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like I'm not triggered because I feel good and it helps people. Like I've gotten so many messages from people, like Greek people in their 50s being like, I've never been able to come out. What you're doing is amazing. And like I hosted a queer Greek event. And I had people drive like 2 hours to come to this event.
Oh, amazing.
And they're like, what you're doing is so important. I'm like, I know.
Think about someone like George Michael. I mean, George Michael came out the most spectacular way only because he got busted, but he would never have come out. He said he would never have come out because his Greek mum would have like died. So he never ever came out. And then everyone's like, why did it take him so long? Because he had this story his whole life, because his name isn't, obviously his surname really wasn't Michael. It was a big long Greek name, right? And he never came out because he just had this terrible story about being Greek and being gay and his mum wouldn't approve, and like it was just, and it ruined his whole life. Right? And you think if a person that famous, and he had the stories then all people wouldn't like me, girls were like, you watch Wham back in the day, that man was as gay as Christmas. Like everyone knew he was gay. Like we all knew he was gay, but like we were all like, oh, the man's gay. So he had such a story that he wasn't gay, and everyone believed him for like the whole of the 80s, the whole of the 90s, and then all of a sudden he had to wait for his bloody mum to die for him to say anything. And you're like, that's so bad. So no wonder you've got people like, if George Michael was doing that, I just imagine how many people in the Greek community are coming to you going, oh, thank God someone's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so
all the time.
Bad.
Because I came out via the national Greek newspaper.
Oh, did you?
Like, let's just rip the Band-Aid. Like, I've been out for like 14 years, but I guess like publicly, I was like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Wow. Okay. So you did it in a really public way. You're like, fuck this.
Like, I didn't give a fuck. Let's get it.
You didn't do a George Michael, like, let's go outside clip with you. Like,
no, I was like, let's put some cute photos in this article and let's just,
That's great. And so now, do you think that also is an element of your content that people come and watch, like that you've attracted a new audience because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great. Like I have like a mix, like Greek, just a lot of different people, which is amazing. But I really love the gay side of it. And
that's lovely.
Yeah.
Because I went to drama school, and the amount of people I know now that have come out as gay who weren't gay at drama school, and you would think to yourself, drama school, it's like gay is the gayest place on earth, And if you can't be gay here, you can't be gay anywhere, right? But it took them years to come out, and you think, why? But it's just people's stories that they hold about the judgment and how people are going to treat them differently and all these things. And the amount of people I know who had such terrible stories about their dads reacting badly or their culture or because of their culture. And then as soon as they started just changing the story and they made that decision, they had to like make the decision, no, I'm coming out and people are just going to dip. Now their parents love their, the kids they've had with their lesbian friend, or their father wants to meet their husband. And you think, what? You had a story that your dad would disown you, and somewhere you decided that story wasn't true. You decided they're going to love me anyway, and their self-concept changed enough that they could come out and not come out and it be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, the people who come out and then they still get the result that they feared. I wonder how much they changed their fears before they came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so what else do you want to tell us, darling? Was there anything you want to tell us about what to do or that you've done? Or
I feel like not over consuming content and doing a million different things. Like when I found you, I just stuck to you. Like I did look at other people, but I was like, no, this is just too much. And I feel like if you over consume, it just confuses the fuck out of you. Manifesting is so simple. It's like, it doesn't need to be complicated. It's literally all about you, your self-concept. And at the end of the day, like you can have all these great things, as Rhiannon was saying, but like if you don't feel good within, like why? I feel like you should be doing it for yourself, and everything outside will reflect that back to you.
Right. And the thing is with the overconsumption, like if you have a story that you have to do all the things, like Rhiannon was saying, it's saying, oh, I don't know what I'm doing something wrong, I need to learn more, you know. And sometimes the over-consuming, there's a story behind the over-consuming. There can also be a story behind the over-consuming where you're not actually doing the work, you're doing a lot of watching and listening, right? And you're not actually doing it. So when did you decide, like, okay, hang on, this makes sense to me, I'm just going to listen to this? Not that I'm saying don't watch other people, but when did you go, okay, this makes sense and everything else is confusing me, so I'm just going to listen to this because this actually makes sense to me? Like, how did it make sense to you? Was it because as you started doing it, it started getting reflected, like it changed, or the penny dropped, or what do you think happened?
Yeah, it was probably like maybe 2 months ago. And the penny dropped when I just started getting all of these messages from just people coming out of the woodwork being like, wow, I think you're so, like literally just reflecting back to me what I had been affirming. Right. Like the most specific shit. I was like, what? Holy crap. And then of course the award, being verified, like all of those things. Yeah. And I did fuck the 3D. That people need to do that because I feel like it's such an eye opener.
Everyone loves that course. I'm like, what? I like sometimes when people go on and on and on about that course, I think to myself, wasn't I telling you guys all this stuff before? Was I not saying it? But it must be because I put it in one place, all in one place, you know?
Yeah, and I think the mental diaries thing, like filling in the little brains, like that, like having that visual. I mean, for me, like I love a visual, so that really helps.
Because then you shock yourself.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this
I've
is
been
a bit
thinking
trash.
all day. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. And then when you started doing that and you started observing your thinking, because you could look at the mental diary, look at the jar of brains and be like, oh my God, I have been thinking shit all day, and freak out or beat yourself up. What did you do differently? Like, what did you start to do?
Yeah, I just thought, okay, this is what I've been thinking. I never beat myself up because that's just a spiral waiting to happen. Just getting back to the root and just observing and not, just doing it from a non-judgmental place and just seeing it as, okay, how can I improve? Maybe I'm seeing something that I don't like. Okay, why? Again, going back to the root, because you can just affirm all day for like, oh, you know, I won this award, but like, if you don't feel chosen, you're not going to win shit. You're not going to win your person back. You're not going to like, it's all about you. That's the most, and that's what's
the thing is the similarity between these two interviews, Rhiannon's one and yours, is you guys are talking to yourself very kindly, like like with non-judgmentalness, but like the way you would talk to a child in an encouraging way, like okay, why am I doing that? Like you wouldn't sit a child down and be like, you stupid idiot, oh God, and when we beat ourselves up, it's almost like you're yelling at like your little child inside yourself going, you've done something wrong, oh, you fucked it up again, you know. And if I hear myself like that, I can literally hear my mum yelling at me as a kid and saying the things that she used to say to me, oh, you stupid little girl, look what you've done, right? And when I beat myself up in that way, I can literally hear it. Not that my mum was a bad mum, but she would get herself fucking aggro, right? And I can hear it. And the thing is, if you're still doing that, that's a problem. Because you can learn all this and then be judging yourself, abusing yourself, telling yourself off, beating yourself up. Listen to both these interviews the way they're both talking about, hang on, stop. Why am I doing this? You know, da-da-da-da-da. And the non-judgmental stuff, when you're already judging yourself, turn around, darling. Because for you to have thought people are going to judge me on social media, my friends may think X, Y, Z, the community may think X, Y, Z of me. The fact that you're doing that, can you hear how non-judgmental you're being? Even though you had really judgmental thoughts about yourself before, that's a massive turnaround that you should be really proud of. Okay.
I am. Definitely.
Good. Because that's huge when you've already judged yourself so harshly.
Yes. And it's so, like, it's so mean. Don't be mean to yourself, guys. It's just like, you don't need to be mean.
Right.
Just be kind. Because,
Exactly.
and also doing content, I realized, like, in life, you have to be your biggest advocate. Like, you have to back yourself.
Exactly.
If you don't back yourself, that's going to reflect. Like,
and how do you deal with haters? Like, how you, so you being your biggest advocate is the best way to really think about content creation, because, oh, someone sent me a balloon. Thank you. Because you will get that back to you. So how do you deal with that?
yeah. So, I don't feel triggered by haters. I just usually just delete people's comments, just block them. I'm like, I don't need this. Like, people don't need to see this. Or I'll just turn it into a skit and have a laugh.
Oh, that's good. Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, some of the comments I've gotten, I'm just like, this is so fucking funny. Like, waste of Greek eggs. Stop being a lesbian. We need small Greeks. I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. It's so absurd.
That's so funny.
Oh my
That's
God.
so funny. Because people think you have to have a thick skin to do content creation and that you'll have haters and blah, blah. But you can also have a story that you don't have haters. You know, that there's the occasional triggered person. But like my hate level of haters has gone down massively. Like when I first started and I first had a thought that people wouldn't like my tough love, they wouldn't like my yelling, they didn't. And there were people who loved it, but there was an equal and opposite reaction of the same amount of people who fucking hated it. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember there was an incident once where someone thought I had sent an email back to somebody. I don't answer emails. I never did. So it can't have been me. But I didn't realize the situation that happened at the time was another content creator, another manifestation coach saying, this coach sent an email back to this person saying it was their fault. And the assumption her community made was it was me. And then upsetting. And everyone said, don't go and read the comments that person's got on their YouTube. It'll really upset you, Loz, because it has unleashed a whole lot of abuse about you being this person who tells people it's their fault. Turned out it wasn't me. I don't email people, but I still did a reaction video, and I still did this reaction video, and I only did it because it made me realize something about myself. And I thought to myself, how have I created a whole channel of people over there abusing me?
Yeah.
Go and read it, because I got sent one message and it was so abusive. I thought, if I go and read that, that's going to really upset me, because I'm not that person they think I am, and they don't know me, and that's going to make me feel bad about myself. So I sat there and I made this video, and I thought, I have a story that people think this is what I'm saying, but they misunderstand me and they think I'm saying it's all your fault. So I had to start realizing I had a story that I feel misunderstood, that people get triggered by me easily, and that I upset people. And that was a huge realization for me. And the amount of things I can now see in my life where I had the story, I will upset you. Now, what did I say my mum was like? She would get easily upset. So I correlated it, and now hater comments are so different, or so little, so few. My account, it's like crazy. And yet I had manifested an entire series of abusive messages on someone else's channel once before. And that never happens now. So it's like there's two things you're doing here. You're manifesting the hate. You've got to decide how you deal with it when it happens.
Yeah.
There's two different things. So anyone who's concerned about content creation, thinking I would have to handle haters and blah, 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 if your self-concept's strong enough, not only will you be able to handle it, but you'll actually reduce, like I have, the amount of hatred, right?
Yeah.
I get more positive comments like, Loz, you've changed my life, than I get anything else now. But I didn't before.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very real. Yeah.
So you've got to, so you've got to recognize that the reduction in hateful comments, or the fact that you no longer are triggered by them, is a direct correlation to your self-concept improving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I had a similar situation to you. Like, I did a collaboration with a friend. This was like, I think end of last year. And we used the word wog in our video because we're both wogs. And we were both like, oh, should we be doing this? Like, oh my God, people get
funny about it. Yeah.
Act the shit out of us.
No.
We got dragged through the mud. People like, again, like, what kind of slur is this? We're like in England, I think it's like a really, anyway, and I'm like, oh my God. And
completely different in English.
were pressed. They were attacking us, and it got so many views.
Because you'd already had the kernel of the doubt, how are people going to react to this? Should we be saying this?
Exactly. So you got to be aware. And yeah, like looking back, like I look at other content creators and I see they get a lot of hate, and like I'm just like, how, like, people are so mean. I'm like, that doesn't really happen to me now. Like I get the odd comment.
I've even seen recently people like quitting. Like I've seen a few people quitting social media or quitting, and I can see their story, and I'm like, your story's all fucked up. That's why you're quitting. So there was one girl who had like this huge amount of following on Instagram and YouTube, and she literally quit. And I literally could see her story about, I get so burnt out, or I do one thing and then I want to move on to the next. And I was like, that's your story. That's why you're having to quit. Now she's come back and she's like, oh yeah, then I realized I lost all my following and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, because you had a story that you had to work so hard to get the following. So as soon as you stopped working, the following would cease. And she said, oh, I was dropping like flies every day. And I said, because it correlates. And I felt like writing to her, because it literally correlates to your story that I have to work hard for this. This is hard slog. Yeah. I have to make effort every day. I have to overwork and people please. And as soon as she stopped, the followers disappeared. And I thought, are you silly girl? You know, so like, and then I can also see people who have stories like there's too much competition. There was a coach who quit recently, and they had this, I honestly was on this person's live when they were quitting YouTube, because I saw them quitting, and I said, why are you quitting? And they literally said, because this manifestation community is toxic. And I thought, oh, you fuckwit, you fucked yourself. That's why you have to quit. I don't think it's toxic, but you have a story, and therefore you feel you need to quit. And I thought, why are you doing that? You're a manifestation coach. You should know what your story is. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's all about the story.
Yeah. So you've got a real story. You've got real observation of your own stories.
Yeah. And sticky notes help.
What do you do with the sticky notes?
I started doing it probably, January again. Everything happened in January, but I was like, fucking hell. Like, I think going back, that's what helped me remember. Like, I would have sticky notes fucking when I was sitting on the toilet. I had sticky notes on the wall.
Did you?
On the mirror, in the bathroom, in my car, just everywhere, just to remind myself. And
remind that's kind of yourself. How it what kind of stuff would you have written on there?
Like, I'm the priority, I'm chosen. My circumstances aren't creating my reality. My reactions to them are. I manifest what I'm aware of. I always feel secure. Just a whole bunch of random things. Well, I mean, specific to my self-concept stuff, but and also I think I watched John, is it John, who got divorced and then remarried? Or yeah. And I laughed when he said he used to yell at himself in the mirror, because that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm fucking chosen. And my sister would just be like, just imagine Loz yelling at you. I feel like she needs
so
to
many people
our lives.
So she because she's a success too. So she manifested her SP, did she?
Yes, after like 6 years of on and off bullshit.
And
then she found you, and then that's how I found out about you.
How funny. How lovely.
So I had her as an accountability person as well. I'd be like, fuck this. Yes. So that helped too.
Knowing a lot of people can't find someone like that in their own lives. They can't find someone who even understands this shit. So the fact that you had her is really good, because it's hard explaining this to people. Like, you're just like, I can't explain this.
Yeah, she'd be like, stop focusing on the 3D, you dickhead. I was like, okay,
good.
So true. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, darling, I'm so proud of you. That's wonderful. So everyone, it's Hey Cat Zam, at Hey Cat Zam on TikTok and Instagram. And do you have a YouTube as well?
I do, but I don't really post on there.
Well, it'll blow up now, I've decided.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, darling. Congratulations on your award as well. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And your verification. I'm going to listen to everything you said, because I've never tried to get verified or any of those things, but I'm going to do what you did.
Do it. I'll be waiting for the blue tick.
You know why? Because we actually had this discussion, Kay and I, the other day, because there's someone who's pretending to be me on Instagram, and we were like, we actually had the verification discussion, because they're sending like things like, give me money for a reading, and people are like believing them, and I'm like, oh, not again. Like this shit, because it happens on TikTok, but now it's happening on Instagram. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to get the verification to stop these fuckers.
Get the tip. Yeah.
All right, darling. Thank you so much for being interviewed, and we're so proud of you.
Thanks
and congratulations,
so
and everyone go and see Kat's channel.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right, darling. Speak to you soon. Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Hooray! How exciting, guys, are those success stories? So I'm going to put all these success stories on YouTube eventually, and they'll be in the playlist, success stories playlist. And there's a whole lot there that you can watch. There's John's one there. There's Rhiannon's one there. There'll be a whole lot of stories, okay, guys, you go and watch, and they'll all have different elements in them for you to understand what you need to do in your circumstances. And the success stories might be really specific to your actual issues, but it's a really good idea to watch them all, because you'll hear different elements of how each individual person worked on their self-concept, and that was the key to everything. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.